I'm Eric Loy, and welcome to Eric Loy Interviews. On this podcast, we talk with folks from the VTuber community on their channels, their talents, their stories, where they come from, and their plans for the future. Totobani joins us. Hi.
Hi, how are you?
Fred, doing good. Appreciate you coming on. If you could, please introduce yourself to everybody.
Hi, my name is Totobani. Lore is currently in progress, but I'm a Dreamweaver Cafe Bunny owner.
Oh, Dreamweaver Cafe Bunny owner. So how'd you get started on VTubing?
Originally I had streamed a few years ago, but it didn't really pick up, and I was playing Valorant one day and I was like, streaming sounds really fun right now. And I kind of just was like, let me just get back into streaming. So I started streaming Valorant, and now I'm here 9 months later.
Were you a fan of VTubers before you got started, or did you just kind of pick it up as you went along?
Yeah, I watched a few VTubers, but it was mostly people that I had already previously known or are friends. And now I'm in a group, so.
So tell me about that. How did you get involved in it, and what's that group doing for you?
I got involved. I hopped back on Twitter one day. Love Twitter.
Yeah.
And I originally found VCrypt through a VTuber named Jevadon, if you've ever interviewed him.
Not yet. We will, though.
He's really cool. He's super sweet. And I kind of joined the Discord, chatted in there a few times. I watched a few of Jev's streams. I kind of looked around, to see what the group was. I met Ame. I talked with Ooze a lot. Ooze is the head mod. And one day applications opened up and I was like, oh my goodness, this is perfect. And I think also during that time I got really close with one of the group members, Tonito, and he kind of vouched for me to get me in there, so I really appreciate him for that. But that's kind of how I got into that group.
Excellent. Shout out to Ame real quick. I know she's got some stuff going on at the moment.
Yeah, shout out to Ame.
Hopefully that will resolve itself quicker than not. Getting in, how fast did you get into it once you got back into streaming?
Pretty quick. And even now I still think about it, where Valorant is really good for publicity for follows. So I streamed that game. I started like 10 hours every day.
Oh.
And I would stream the game 10 hours every day. I'd wake up, get on my PC, I'd start stream, I'd get on Valorant, and I'd just stream for like 10 hours. I'd take a break like every 5 hours just so I could get food and water and everything, but like I would go for 10 hours. It was pretty crazy. And now I'm down to like 4-hour streams almost every day. And
man,
it was wild.
That's dedication there.
Yeah, but I did end up averaging, like, when I did the 10-hour streams, it was averaging like a follow every hour. And then slowly time got knocked down, but I slowly would average like 10 follows a stream, which is really, really crazy. It's nuts. I don't think a lot of people realize that, because a lot of people maybe get 1 follower stream. Maybe.
Right.
And so I kind of climbed really high with that. I mean, in the first month, I got 168 follows.
Dang. So people were tuning in and seeing what it was all about. Were they folks who interacted right away, or did they take a little while to get to see the lay of the land?
It was a good mix. I would say there's a lot of people that would mostly just come in, stop in, follow, say hi, and then, go off. Some of them would come back to some streams, but it was mostly people just following rather than viewing.
Right.
But I do have, I think my most loyal viewer is from Valorant. His name is Grimsley. I love him. But he came from Valorant, and he's been there since the beginning. There were a few people that would like drop by every now and again. There were a few Riot devs that I would meet that would like drop by. There's a few of them that still come say hi every now and again. It's really
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah. So when you were streaming before to what you're doing now, what's the difference? Is it the having the avatar to work with, or just a different attitude, or a different start?
Now it's I think I still have kind of the same attitude. I might have like, grown out of like a little bit of an anxious bubble.
Hmm.
Um but it's kind of the same attitude. It's still my same goal. I want to like, comfort people but also bring a little bit of like joy.
Hmm.
Um but I mostly just variety stream now, so it's like Overwatch, Teamfight Tactics, Minecraft, Among Us, Phasmophobia, Dead by Daylight, Stardew Valley, just kind of everything.
Hmm.
Um, and now instead of kind of looking for more follows, I'm looking for more views, which I do have to get through more people following, of course, but
Right.
it's like I want to be able to hold like consistent viewership, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. There is a difference in that, and it's one of these days I'm gonna get some folks, some veterans together and do like a little marketing thing where
Yeah.
people have an idea of how to not just bring people in, which is a great skill to have, but also keeping them there and having them coming
Hmm.
back and time again. And there's just a few little tips I think some folks could share on something like that.
Oh,
You
definitely.
you're a multimedia person.
Hmm.
I mean, you're all over the place. I use
Yeah.
it. I get a list of links to put up on the internet. I'm gonna have to get another set to put up for all the links that you have.
Yeah.
So you are everywhere. Is that something you plan to do at the start, or has it just kind of uh, fallen into place as you've gone along?
Um, I don't know. I'd like to kind of be everywhere.
Hmm.
Just so people have access, I guess, because there's a lot of people out there that, you know, might need specific entertainment that I offer.
Hmm.
Um, I know one thing, like I kind of already mentioned it, but a little bit more in detail. There's a lot of people that'll come home from work or at the end of the day and are really fucking tired.
Oh
Excuse
yeah,
my language.
don't worry about that.
Um, okay, sorry, I didn't know where you're at on that.
No, no problem.
But they're just tired and they just need something to like listen to and like calm down. And a lot of the times when you've run out of your Netflix shows and your YouTube videos and your favorite YouTuber hasn't uploaded yet, it's nice to have a streamer there. I know I've been like that in the past. Um, and there's a few people that have come into my chat and are like, this is like so nice that I can just listen to your voice and watch what you're doing and just like relax and not worry. And then I think on top of that, what was funny is a lot of people would comment on my Valorant streams, like, how are you able to be so calm while there's somebody like shooting you from across the map?
Right. Yeah,
You know?
your voice is pretty amazing for that. I mean, it, is
Thank
that
you.
so? When you're out off the internet and talking to people, is that your voice? Because really
um,
it doesn't sound like you're affecting it at all, but it sounds so natural and calm that it's very disarming, which is a good thing. I think.
yeah. This is it's my voice for sure. I'm probably like softening it a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
I change my voice in like really any situation that I'm in.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a voice actor.
Right.
I do a lot of things. I can give you an example later down the interview if you want of like a lot of the things I can do.
Sure. Excellent. Yeah, that'd be good.
um,
Yeah.
but I do voice act. I'd say in person with like my friends that I'm super comfortable around.
Yeah.
It's a lot more kind of like laid back, and I kind of talk a little bit more like this just because I'm tired and I don't really care about what I sound like. And also in public, people scare me. So sometimes I kind of try and like rasp my voice a little bit in like a sense to like people away. Because
Mm,
if I talk like this and be all melodic and stuff, people are gonna be like, "Ooh."
yeah, it was going to kind of drift off, and you've got a couple of videos up on YouTube that
Yeah.
folks should check out to just get kind of a little bit of an idea of what you're able to do with that instrument of yours. Um, really, even talking like this, you've got a natural projection.
Hmm.
Some folks will talk down in that register, and then it'll sound like they've swallowed their voice. That is not the case at all with you whatsoever. Have you always been someone who's been able to even though you not so much like go out in front of public to speak in public like that, or did you have to learn that?
Um, I would say, okay, get really specific. I think it was my seventh grade English class.
Okay.
we, I don't know why this is always stuck in my brain, but my teacher would always emphasize projecting your voice when we'd read.
Right.
So I think that's kind of engraved in my brain, but also because I've been practicing voice work, like I'm self-taught. I've
Hmm.
been practicing it for like the past 5 years.
Ooh,
Um, and it's when you're doing voice work, especially if you want to be clear and pronounced and understood, you kind of have to, project your voice a little bit so that people can hear all of what you're saying.
right.
Um, and also on top of that, I have a lot of autistic friends.
Hmm.
Um, and for a lot of autistic people, it's really hard to understand certain tones of voice or just tones of voice in general. So I try and make sure that it's as clear as possible
Hmm.
so that they can pick it up. And if they can't, then, I explain to them that like I'm not being sarcastic or I'm joking because they don't get it.
Right. Right.
But
And I know
if I can,
I talk in circles a lot sometimes and jump back and forth. And I imagine for some of the folks on that spectrum, it drives them crazy because don't have any
mhm.
idea what the next sentence is going to be coming out of my mouth. But
Oh yeah.
so if you're with basically just by communicating with your friends, you kind of learned that on your own.
Yeah.
Mm. That,
There's
that
also, I know you've probably heard it a few times, but when you ask a question and I'm agreeing, I kind of go, mm-hmm.
yeah, yeah,
And it's a lot more expressive than
right.
most people would.
Yeah. Well, it's
But it's just kind of
appreciated.
mannerisms that I have.
It's definitely appreciated because
Yeah.
it really it is. I used to work with some folks in a local pro wrestling group, and they used to do all sorts of things, and none of them were used to being in front of a microphone. And
Oh.
I got out there and I said, okay, talk to the microphone like you're talking to someone in a crowded room about 3 arm lengths away, but you want them to understand exactly what you're saying. You don't have to make a lot of push on it. Just make it clear what you're saying, and it almost automatically pushes your voice out if you do something like that.
Yeah. No, microphones are really cool, especially if you have like more advanced one. There's a lot that you can do with them.
Oh yeah, oh yeah. There's a lot that if you're really a fancy Dan with a mic, you can do a lot of things with it.
Oh yeah.
There's so many little tweaks that you can do that make all the difference in the world. We had somebody on the old radio station I worked for who used to be on top of the microphone and swallow it so badly that we had to rotate the microphones in the studio because he would absolutely destroy that one microphone if we kept it on him
Oh my
at any period of
goodness.
time. The response ratio was way down.
Oh yeah.
He would yell into it in one moment, and then he'd play way back here and it's talking. And again, it just destroyed
I've
it. Just destroyed things. So
oh yeah.
when did you realize that you had this type of voice talent? Was it in school?
Oh, I think definitely late junior high, early high school. um, I was very interested in voice acting. And by this time, I hadn't gotten any like compliments of people being like, "Oh, I love your voice. Oh, your voice is nice." I used to watch a lot of anime. I still do, but not as much as I did.
Hmm.
And I just thought it was so cool that people get to sit behind a mic, look at a script or memorize that script, whatever they're doing, and say one line 20 different times to get it like perfect. And now they want it to sound with either different sounds or like gasps or just like anything.
Right.
And you can do so many different things with just like one line. If, like, an example, like, if somebody's saying, like, "Oh, I'm so sad," I could be like, "Oh, I'm so sad," or "I'm so sad," or "I'm so sad."
Yeah.
So you sound happy with it. And
Yeah.
there's so many different ways that you can say just like one
Yeah.
sentence.
You get sarcastic with,
It's crazy.
I'm so sad.
Yeah, I'm so sad.
Yeah.
Like, ugh. Like,
It's
it's just so cool.
so. Did you do any type of regular stage acting before doing this? Because it as you just mentioned, there is a lot of. It's not just voice work; it's voice acting. You have to do that too.
Yeah, a lot of people think voice acting is just sitting behind a mic and speaking. No, it's not.
Hmm.
There's a lot that you can do uh, in that area. But I think in junior high and high school, I wanted to take drama, but I didn't. But
Mm.
in elementary school, there used to be this organization of some sort. I'm not sure what they were. I think they'd go like all around the states to like a lot of different schools.
Right.
But every year when they came around to my school, I would always audition each year and do like a little play. And also on top of that, I did ballet for 8 years, but that's
Oh,
more visual work than voice work. Because you don't speak in ballet.
no.
It's just bodily movements.
Yeah.
But
I can
I
imagine
think
there's.
that does help in some sense.
Yeah, I imagine you can take a lot of discipline from that.
Yeah,
Is
it was hard work.
Yeah, it's not. I don't think people. If really is what not only is it athletic, but it's also there's a lot of other things that play into it. You can just kick up a foot. You got to do it this
Yeah,
particular way and it through this particular music that needs to show this particular type of thing going on. It is very, very stressful, I imagine.
definitely. Oh, and it sucked being on that stage with those hot lights and tights and a tied up bun and a leotard. Oh,
Oh man.
worst.
Ugh. But
Worth it though.
yeah, and I imagine with being kind of self-taught as far as voice acting is concerned, you had to take that discipline and apply it toward learning how to do this correctly.
Yeah, definitely. I I think what also helps is I dabble more in accents
Mm.
because I think accents are really cool. Um, and I have ADHD, and
Oh
I've
wow.
done a lot of reading on this, but ADHD, you pick up things, especially accents and like different voice mannerisms, a lot faster than most people would.
Mm.
So, like, there's definitely times where like somebody will just talk in a certain accent, and I just say that perfect sentence like almost perfectly, and I won't be able to replicate it later without hearing it again.
Yeah, yeah, that kind of
um,
kind of a mimic thing, but it's
yeah.
yeah, it's being able to pick that voice up again later, which makes old radio people like me absolutely useless at voice acting. I could do it maybe once, but he asked me to do it a second time, it's not happening. Um,
Hmm.
but you have to, you almost have to assume. I mean, it is acting, but you have to basically assume being the person and it get used to speaking in whatever accent and whatever tone of voice in order to be comfortable enough to show other people what you're doing.
Hmm.
That's
For sure.
so. How did you get over that? showing other people that you're able to do this?
Um, I mean, I think one of the bigger things is when it comes down to my anxiety,
Mm-hmm.
and there's definitely been moments where it's like, I don't know what to say, I don't know what to say, I don't know what to say. And I tell a lot of people this, and it's really, really hard to do, but once you just kind of do it, it becomes easier. I tell people, throw your anxiety out the window. I know that sounds so weird. And it's like, how do you just ignore your anxiety? It's not easy. But I just kind of think in my head, I'm like, okay, so I have a lot of anxiety right now. I'm going to ignore it and just say what I have to say, right? And then I say what I have to say, and I'm like, oh, that actually wasn't as bad as I thought it was going to be.
Mm.
Um, and then I say what I have to say, you know?
Yeah, and then, but what about the consequences
The
afterwards?
after,
Yeah.
you know, it's, you kind of either, you either get a negative response or you get the positive response, but you're never going to find out what happens if you don't say it.
Mm.
Um,
Yeah, you can assume, but it's not necessarily what's going to. Here's a
yeah,
question for you. You mentioned the negative and the positive response. Is it worse to get a negative response or no response at all?
no response at all.
Mm-hmm.
I'm very big. I mean, depends on the situation because I feel like some people just don't know what to say.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like as long as they're like responding and they're like, I don't know, and then you get a response later, that's fine. But I feel like no response at all is worse
Mm-hmm.
because then you don't know what's going on. You started with not knowing what's going on, and now you really don't know what's going on,
Yeah. Yeah.
and it's confusing.
There's no feedback there. Um,
Yeah.
I know that for some folks the worst thing you can tell them is that they're competent at something, which
Mhm.
you basically tear their heart out when you say something like that.
Yeah.
You can definitely do this, yes, then walk away.
Yeah. I like personally, I like being good at things.
Mm,
So if I'm only decent at something and I want to be good at it, I like getting that response
mm,
because then I know I'm not good at it.
mm,
And then I need to know, then I know that I need to practice more,
mm.
you know?
Well, yeah,
Um,
and you affected somebody at least by doing it.
mhm.
Competency is okay if you're on the in a factory maybe or digging holes, but when you're talking about entertainment, you want to move them one way or another, or at least move the story along. Um, that
Definitely, yeah.
to I think it would be, and there's always going to be people who don't like you anyway. It's
Oh, yeah.
it's just nothing you can do about that. You haven't had a lot of that, have you?
I, especially from Valorant, there was one instance that was really funny. There was this one dude that was like, can I have your Instagram? Can I have your Snapchat? Can I have your Instagram? Can I have your Snapchat?
Oh,
And I was like, no, I'm okay. Thanks though. And he like came to my stream and he was like, you suck. And I was like, okay, I don't care. Ban. Like, you wanted this thing so badly,
mm.
and now you're mad that you can't get it, so you're gonna try and hate on me.
Oh yeah,
Okay.
yeah. That's it in a nutshell, really.
Yeah.
It's exactly, and then you get folks who come in and want to be the show and want to tend to take it over
Mm-hmm.
from you. Yeah, with the folks that you have right now in the chat, what type of relationship do you have with them at the moment?
I, so most of my chat, like probably 75% of them, are kind of lurkers just to like sit there and like listen, and they'll chat occasionally, but they're mostly there to just listen and like relax and watch whatever I'm doing.
Mhm.
And then the other like 25, sometimes there's a big chatty day, but like a lot of the times they're just chatting, doing whatever, commenting on like me messing up on something, whatever. um or if I'm doing an art stream that day, some people like leave for like 5 or 10 minutes and they come back and they're like, "Why did you make so much progress already?" And I'm like, "Do I really work that fast?" Because I feel like I work super slow on my art.
We haven't even
Um,
talked about that. And not only are you all over the place on the internet, but being multi-talented as well. Uh, Being able to do the art stuff is something that I cannot relate to in the slightest bit because I have no ability whatsoever to do it. Um, Coming on stream and doing it, how did you take to that? Was it easy for you to do?
yeah, I mean, I'm not always motivated to do art. I struggled a lot with that, but
Mm.
when I do get motivation to do art, it's definitely there. I'm definitely like grinding out like a few art pieces and I'm like, yeah, yippee, art.
All right.
And it looks good and I'm like, yay.
Are you self-taught?
But yeah, but I also did it like every single year in school. I've
Yeah.
done it my whole entire life.
Yeah.
In junior high, my dad was always like, "I want you to take Spanish. You need to take Spanish over art." And I was like, I can take Spanish and art, but I'm taking art. I was not about to not take an art class. I would have been so sad if I
Mm.
didn't have an art class. Because I love messing with all of the art mediums. I like getting my hands dirty.
Oh,
Um,
so
but
but there's a difference between we talked about with the acting a little bit. There's a difference between you know doing painting a picture, drawing a picture, sculpture, anything, and then showing it to other people.
mm,
Um, were you able to bridge that gap easily?
I think for a while with really any of my skills. I also make music with my friend on the side for fun if you want to get into that later. There's
Oh
a
yeah,
lot of stuff that I do.
yeah. I'm gonna
um
have you back because there's just too much stuff going on. That's all.
yeah.
Uh,
um but definitely like there's art pieces that sometimes are either too, I guess, like emotional,
mm,
that like I only want to show to so many people or I don't want to show to people.
right.
And then sometimes I just look at my art and I'm like, this is so bad. This is the worst thing I've ever made. And then my friend sees it and they're like, what are you talking about? This is really cool. And I'm like, it feels like it looks like shit. And they're like, no, it doesn't. And I'm like, but it does. And they're like, no. And it's that kind of thing that a lot of the times I zoom really close into my and I need it to be perfect. I'm such a perfectionist.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes, especially when I'm streaming it, I'll look at it and I'm like, I don't like this, I don't like this, I don't like this, this looks bad, something is off here. And I'll sit there and I'll be like, wait, let me look at my OBS monitor because it's really small on my OBS monitor.
Right.
And if I look at it there and I'm not zoomed in to the little one singular pixel that looks like it's off,
Right.
it just looks good. And I'm like, oh, it looks fine. Nobody's gonna be looking at it up close like this anyway.
You have to see the forest from
It's
the trees.
yeah, exactly.
That's pretty much right on the button. Plus, that's the I haven't interviewed an artist yet that wasn't a perfectionist, and um, never quite satisfied.
Yeah.
Had to tinker with a little bit. Does that carry on to your audio work too?
Um, I'd say there's definitely a few times where like I'll say lines and I'll be like, doesn't sound right.
Mm-hmm.
But I think after doing so much work on my voice, a lot of the times I get out what I want the first try.
Yeah.
I think because I was such a perfectionist when I was learning.
Yeah.
Um, but there's definitely times where I'm like, that has a little bit of rasp in it that doesn't need to be there, that needs to get out.
Yeah. It means try it again. Take
But
47.
yeah, I think there's definitely, especially when I'm recording, I always have a drink or like water or something beside me if like my voice is a little bit raspy and I'm like, okay, let me take a sip,
Yeah.
take a breather and then get back to it.
There's
But
we've all got our tips and tricks for getting around
Yeah.
and stuff in the throat, or maybe even a sore throat, or heck, I used to be able to do talk shows while I had pneumonia. You just gotta
Wow.
you just gotta know when to hit the pause button. Hey,
Oh,
it was
yeah.
a live show. As long as you hit you ask questions that someone will answer for 15 minutes, and you keep your microphone off. Don't cough into the
Oh,
microphone,
yeah.
whatever you do. Totobani, it's been great talking with you. I mean, we've
Yeah.
killed off a half hour here, but there's so much stuff more to talk about with you. Uh, Please come back again very soon. So
I would love to.
yeah,
I DM me. I'm probably gonna be free like the next week.
yeah,
So
yeah,
anytime.
yeah. We're gonna have to keep it in, and we've all the links we could find. We're gonna have in the description for
Wow.
this interview. We've rounded them all up and got them in there. I
Great.
do want to ask before we get. Are you taking commissions?
Art or voice? Because I take both.
Oh, so both is the answer.
Yeah.
So again, folks, if you want to find out to see what the Totobani's got going on, we'll have all the links there, including links to try and get some commission stuff done. And it's going to be high quality, and it's going to be by someone who's got a lot of talent. And we'll get you back soon. Thanks for coming on.
I appreciate it. Yeah, anytime. Thank you.
Thank you for listening to Eric Loy Interviews. Join us again next time when we talk to another member of the always interesting VTuber community.